What if I told you some of the creatures you thought were pure myth might have actually existed? Like, not exactly dragons breathing fire on castles, but close enough to make people freak out. So let's start with the obvious dragons. Yeah, the classic fire breathing lizards. Now think about it. Ancient people dug up giant bones. No idea what they were. And you know who loved dragons? People obsessed with power. Now imagine Karl Marx explaining capitalism while holding a T-Rex femur. Okay, hear me out. Marx believed history was shaped by conflict between classes. Dragons in myth, same energy. Massive, unstoppable force everyone feared, hoarding treasure like literal capital. Suddenly, the bourgeoisie looks a lot like the Smaug. And then you got emperors and kings using dragon stories to scare peasants into obedience. Basically, dragons are the original propaganda tool. Sea monsters. Ancient sailors swore there were tentacle monsters dragging ships underwater. Now we've discovered giant squids. Yes, real. 40 feet, tentacles longer than your house. Well, during the Boston Tea Party, think about it. Ships on the water, patriots throwing tea. But what if a kraken had been lurking in the harbor? Suddenly, history looks way more terrifying. Colonists weren't just rebelling against taxes. They were fighting a sea monster while dumping tea into the ocean. Makes you respect their courage a little more. Right? Mermaids. Half human, half fish, singing sailors to their doom. Sailors would spend months at sea, hallucinate, see manatees called the mermaids. Imagine Christopher Columbus exploring the Caribbean, telling the Spanish crown he saw mermaids. Mermaids basically inspired colonial exploitation, kind of like if 9/11 had been caused by hallucinations of ghost ships. Okay, a stretch, but you feel the vibe. Giants. Stories of enormous humans walking the earth. Ancient bones were actually from mammoths or giant apes, but humans had no science. So that would explain Hitler and the Nazi obsession with Aryan or quote-unquote superhumans. They wanted giants in ideology, not reality. The idea of a perfect race is basically the human equivalent of finding a giant femur and deciding, yes, this is a demigod. This is superior. Humans literally make mythology out of bones, and sometimes ideology out of myth. China's symbol? Dragon. Power, wisdom, and fear. Meanwhile, the KKK used mythic symbolism to terrify and control. My point? Mythical creatures weren't just stories. They were the first PR campaigns. And if you think that's wild, look at hydras. Multiple heads regenerate when cut off. Ancient Greeks saw it as a monster. But if you think about it, to modern people, hydras equal Mexican cartels. Cut one leader out, another one pops up. The phoenix, the bird that dies in a bowl of fire and pops back up from the ashes. Classic symbol of rebirth, right? Wrong. Think about it. The phoenix is the ultimate economic cycle. Every few decades, the market crashes. The quote-unquote fire consumes everything. And then, boom, is a new bull market. Rise from the suit. It's like the 2018 financial crisis. One minute the housing market is a glorious golden bird, the next it's a pile of charred debt. But the system doesn't die. It just gets a facelift and the new stimulus package. The phoenix isn't a bird, it's more like a bailout. The centaur. Half human, half horse, living embodiment of party animal meets philosopher. Ancient Greeks saw them as the bridge between civilization and wild nature. But if we look at it through the lens of Industrial Revolution, humans literally fused themselves to machines. Steam engines, factories, cars. We stopped being just humans and became man plus motor. The centaur is basically the first cyborg propaganda. It's the original Neuralink. If you think a guy with horse butt is weird, wait until you see a billionaire trying to merge his brain with a toaster to live forever. is kind of like the same energy, isn't it? The Minotaur, a massive bull man trapped in a basement, a labyrinth. King Minos kept him there to eat his enemies and keep the public terrified. Now look at modern surveillance. The labyrinth isn't made of stone anymore. It's made of algorithms. We're all wandering through a digital maze, and the Minotaur is the data miner waiting at the center to devour our privacy. The Greeks weren't scared of a cowman, they were scared of being trapped in a system they couldn't map out. It's NSA level gatekeeping 2000 years early. The Chimera. A lion, a goat, and a snake all mashed into one nightmare. It makes absolutely zero sense. It shouldn't even exist. Think about the European Union or the United States. You got different cultures, different language, and different heads all trying to move one body. Sometimes the lion wants to roar, but the goat just wants to eat grass. The snake is busy biting the tail. The Chimera is the original geopolitics. It's a mess of conflicting interests held together by sheer willpower. Or a lot of duct tape and treaties. The Golem. A creature made of clay brought to life by a magical word to protect the marginalized. In Jewish folklore, it's seen as a hero. But the catch? Well, it always gets too powerful and starts smashing the neighborhood. Today, using artificial intelligence, we are building a digital golem out of code instead of clay. We want it to quote-unquote save us from menial tasks, but we are low-key terrified it's going to smash the neighborhood, or at least smash our jobs. The golem is the blueprint for Silicon Valley. We create the protector, then we realize we forgot how to write the off switch on its forehead. It's the ultimate be careful what you wish for PR move. The Banshee, a screaming woman who shows up right before someone kicks the bucket. Pure nightmare fuel, right? Well, the Banshee is basically the original Twitter notification. Constant wailing about the impending doom of the world. One minute she's screaming about a plague, the next it's a market crash. Ancient people heard a lady crying in the fog. We hear a breaking news alert at 3 a.m. The Banshee isn't a ghost. She's more like the clickbait of the Middle Ages. The Sphinx. A lion with human head that sits by the road and asks you riddle. If you get it wrong, you're lunch. Now, look at job interview process. You sit across from a creature that looks human but feels like a predator. They ask you riddles like where do you see yourself in 5 years or what's your biggest weakness. The Sphinx is the ultimate gatekeeper. It's the original corporate bureaucracy. If you don't have the right quote-unquote password or the right degree, the system eats your resume and spits you back into the streets. The Greeks weren't scared of a statue. They were scared of unemployment, man. The Werewolf. A normal guy who turns into a bloodthirsty beast when the moon hits right. Classic horror, right? No, look at internet anonymity. By day, he's a mild-mannered accountant named Dave. By night or behind a keyboard, he's a ravenous beast tearing people apart in the comment section. The werewolf is the blueprint for the online troll. It's the dual identity we all have now. One version for LinkedIn, one version for Instagram. It's more like today, the moon isn't what changes us. It's the Wi-Fi signal. So does that literally mean we are all werewolves? The Pegasus, a majestic horse with wings. It can go anywhere, fly over any wall, ignore any border. Now look at the private jets and tax havens. The Pegasus is the ultimate symbol of the global elite. While everyone else is stuck on the ground dealing with traffic, aka taxes, laws, and physics, the Pegasus just flies right over it. That explains why the folks in the Epstein files are still walking free. It's the original offshore account. It's the idea that if you're quote-unquote magical enough or rich enough, the rules of the earth just don't apply to you. You're not a horse anymore. You're more like an asset. Here's the mind blower. Mythical creatures weren't just made up. They were exaggerations of reality, twisted by fear, memory, and political needs. Dragons, giants, mermaids, wendigos, banshees, all the things we tell stories about today had their blueprints in myths. So next time someone says mythical creatures aren't real, tell them. Some of them actually are. And their influence, oh, that's very, very real. We just call it history now.